false. I can't say that. We only see good things. I can't say that either. Saying that there will only be good things from now on. Saying that you won't get hurt. I can't say that. I can lie like that. Hoping for more good days. If you believe what I say, then count one, two, three. I'm your host, Tawassum Promi. Assalamu alaikum. I am back here to accompany you for the second time in Bertho. You might say, as a new face you'll be seeing, your books, coffee, wrestling, K-pop, K-drama girl. So how are you all? How's the family? How are the friends? I see that you have a particular standing out glow today. Yes, I see you. So I am present here with you with the new season, new episode 2 of the second season of Ichi-go Ichi-e. Ichi-go Ichi-e, our live series where we invite initiators, activists, and instructors from all over the world to join us virtually and keep you, our audience, engaged with valuable discussions and skill-based sessions. This project is brought to you by Team Bertho and the Youth Exchange South to South Yes Girls movement. Team Bertho is an organization where we aim to document the understanding of life through people's learning and pass them on to you people and everyone else as innovative, creative, and effective solution for everyone to live their best life. In case if you're wondering, Ichi-go Ichi-e is a Japanese four-character idiom which describes as treasuring the unrepeatable nature of a moment, usually translated as for this time only or once in a lifetime. Just like each of the moments we live is a once in a lifetime moment. Just like the guest we have here with us, and having her here with us and listening to her speak gracefully on our platform is indeed a once in a lifetime moment, I tell you. There is nothing in the world so irresistibly contagious as laughter and good humor. If you've read Christmas Carol, you know that Charles Dickens quoted this in his book. Also, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, you might have also listened to this quote: laughter is poison to fear. So, the grandest of the grandest guest we have here with us today for the second episode of the season of Ichi-go Ichi-e is an utterly brilliant woman who is a stand up comedian, an actor, and host of the popular podcast How Come Podcast, which has over 100,000 monthly downloads. Also, a podcast, We Really Love Island. This amazing woman and her work on HC have been featured on Netflix's Explained and in popular publications such as The Huffington Post, Beaches Love This, and Elle magazine. During the pandemic, she was also written up in Time magazine for keeping performed on stages across the country, including Bravo's Real Housewives of New York, and most recently on Ashley Gavin's West Coast Backyard Tour. And to be honest, she has done and contributed to so much and accomplished so much. It's just all beyond description. Even though I've not properly called out her name of our guest yet to build up the tension and the anticipation amongst you guys who are watching, I guess most of you has already caught on and realized who this absolutely amazing woman is. Because I tell you, she can be missed. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, joining us with the most unique topic of discussion, seriously funny, she who keeps comedy alive, Remy Kassimir.
Hello, everybody. Oh my God. Thank you so much for that sweet intro. And where did you get my download numbers? Nobody knows about that.
I have my connections.
I thought so. Yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you guys today about comedy. And I love those quotes that you read. I agree. I think laughter is essential. It's kind of one of the things in life that makes life worth living to me, along with eating and loved ones and all that stuff and dancing. But like laughing is always my favorite thing to do. My younger sister and I actually like. There's this quote from the cereal bar Kashi that says, "We take fun seriously." Want to take ourselves too seriously, but fun is important, laughter is important, and we take that seriously.
Oh, that is amazing because laughter is the cure of
It's the
everything,
cure.
basically.
Yeah.
It's a huge cure. So, You look absolutely gorgeous, and
Oh,
thank you for the
thank you.
intro too. And thank
Put
you
on makeup
for
for you.
complimenting me. So, and thank you so much for being here with us today and taking out the time from a busy schedule because we've been told that you're catching flights flying from here to
There's a
there.
lot of traveling going on lately, but it's exciting. It's yeah, I didn't think I would be doing these shows in Portland this week, but I opened for this great comic, J.R. de Guzman, this weekend in Nyack, and it was such a great time. And I was like, "Where are you going next?" And he's like, "Portland." And I was like, "You need anybody to open for you?" And so we're going to Portland, sold out crowds, very excited. Um, but yeah, it's a busy day.
Well, you must be tired, you must be jet lagged, so I hope you're fine though.
I'm fine.
That's really great to hear. I hope you're in good health, and I
I'm in
hope you're
good
eating
health.
well.
I, I tried to make an egg this morning. It cracked, and I gave up on it. But we'll have lunch later.
Okay, so on account of having you here with us, we have a tiny gift for you as an opening treat, you might say. We'll have two singing nightingales here with us today. One of them
Ah,
is a voice artist at the Tech Academy and a former student
cool.
at Chayanot Shongit Vidyayatan. She's someone who believes that being a musician can be indeed very magical because through music, she can express her countless emotions, whether it can be about personal life or just the perspective of seeing life. She also loves teaching and occasionally feels delighted to work as a voiceover artist. Please welcome Nahyan
Awesome.
Nusha Jutiapo.
Yay.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. It's
How are
very
you?
pleasure to meet you. I'm great. I'm doing great. So yeah, I'm. It's an honor actually to be here. So yeah, I really do love singing. Music is like it's really my like passion. I do it from my
Yeah.
passion. So yeah, today I'm going to sing like one Bangla song and one very popular English song from Maroon 5. So I hope that you like it, and yeah, so
Amazing.
let's just get into it. Okay. আমি তোমারি 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 নাম গাই আমার নাম গাও তুমি আমি তোমারি 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 নাম গাই আমার নাম গাও তুমি আমি আকাশের রোদের দেশে ভেসে ভেসে বেড়াই মেঘের পাহাড়ে চড়ো তুমি আমি তোমারি 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 নাম গাই আমার নাম গাও তুমি ভালোবাসা করে আশা তোমার অতল জল শীতল করবে মরুভূমি ভালোবাসা করে আশা তোমার অতল জল শীতল করবে মরুভূমি জলে কেন ডাঙায় আমি ডুবতেও রাজি জলে কেন ডাঙায় আমি ডুবতেও রাজি আছি যদি ভাসিয়ে তোলো তুমি আমি তোমারি 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 নাম গাই আমার নাম গাও তুমি There's a time that I remember, but I never felt so lost. When I felt all of the hatred was too powerful to stop. Now my heart feels like an ember, and it's lighting up the dark. I carry this torch's fire, and you know I never drop. Yeah. Everybody hurts sometimes, everybody hurts someday. But everything will be alright. Go and raise a glass and say, hey, here's to the ones that we got. Cheers to the wish you were here, but we're not. Cause the drinks bring back all the memories of everything we've it bring back all the memories, and the memories bring back you. Do 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 do. Memories bring back you. Do 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 do. Memories bring back you. Thank you.
Yay!
I
You're amazing.
thank you.
Oh my
I'm so glad that
gosh.
you liked
The
it.
chat is going wild.
It indeed was amazing because the song you sang in the last Maroon
I
5, that song is basically
Yeah,
the
that's
friendship song
that's
on my friend
that's really
circle.
close to my heart as well. That's a song really close to my
Same.
heart, and yeah, it actually like resembles so many things, like the person we have lost, and so many like the
Mhm.
childhood memories, and yeah. So I'm
Exactly.
very
I'm
glad that you
suddenly
liked it.
missing my friend
Thank you so
circle.
much.
Ah,
You're
the
so
vibes were
talented.
immaculate.
Yeah,
Absolutely
Thank
immaculate.
lovely.
And I'm
And
looking
How long
forward
have you
for this
been?
session. And yeah, now the floor is up to you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for doing this.
it was our pleasure, and thank you
What a
so much to
treat.
Shejida Putru. I'm at a loss of words right now because that
I
song was so
know.
beautiful.
Like
Okay,
being
so
able to play an
yeah,
instrument is like, okay, talented. And then her voice is like the most perfect thing I've ever heard. And just the merging of the two
same,
songs. Aren't we lucky?
smooth,
Smooth.
chef's kiss. Okay,
Yeah.
so moving on. People, we have found out from a very top secret source that Remy Kassimir is also a really good singer. So, what do you say, Remy? Would you
I'm,
sing us a few lines for the audience?
I'm an okay singer. What do you want me to sing?
Anything would be alright.
I love you always, forever, near and far. We'll stay together everywhere. I will be with you. Everything I will do for you. I'm not that good though.
It was
They can't
cute.
put me after her.
Well, should I have put you before her?
Yeah, maybe.
Understandable. But my bad. Okay,
No,
so
it's
that
okay.
was a very good kickoff from the kickoff of the show. Thank you so much for blessing our ears with your angel voice. It was really cute, to be honest. Now, Remy, before we start on with the session, I wanted to say that congratulations on successfully being sold out on demand for 2 back-to-back stand-up comedy shows. Also being asked for an encore. Wow,
Thank
big
you.
clap.
Yeah, I can't say that was just me. It was really J.R. de Guzman's, his audience. They came in full force. And what a pleasure to be able to perform for them. Um, it was such good vibes. Honestly, this whole weekend and now continuing to this is great vibes all around.
It is really amazing. So tell us about that. And also, it's time for me to pass the floor on to you. I'll come back to you towards the end for a very exciting and interesting question answer session. But for now,
Cool.
for the session topic, seriously funny, all eyes on you, Remy.
Yay. Okay, so yeah, I can start with this weekend. This was my first time performing at a club called Levity Live in Nyack, which I've been looking forward to ever since I got into New York comedy scene. Everybody had always said, you know, this staff, they really make you feel like family. The kitchen is amazing. The food is amazing. The audiences are amazing. And it's in a mall. So you get to hang out in the mall all day and just kind of like get weird and it's very American experience, the mall. And this one was just a blast. So I have a friend, JR de Guzman, and I actually met him when I was on tour with our other friend, Ashley Gavin, which you mentioned in my intro. Um, Ashley did this incredible thing, um, which was an outdoor tour on the West Coast. It was backyards of her fan base, um, because nobody wanted to get sick or anything, but we all still needed comedy. That was something that I made very clear, like immediately when we went into lockdown. I was like, wait, there's no more performing? Like, there's no more laughing? Why? Like, what are we going to do? And like, not just how are comics going to keep continuing our jobs, but like, how are the fans going to like get their daily laughs? So, actually, like the second day, I believe I was locked down. I was in Portland, Oregon with my boyfriend, who is also a stand up comedian, and we were visiting his parents right before we were supposed to go on. I was supposed to do some shows in LA. He was supposed to go down to Austin and do shows, and then we were going to meet up for a big comedy festival, and we were really excited. And then things just started closing. My friends in LA were like, "Don't come here. The shows are canceled. We'll have to lock down together. We love you, but not that much. Like, stay where you are." My family in New York was like, "Hey, things are getting bad here. If you're comfortable where you are, stay there." So I said, "Okay, I'll stay here. But how am I going to make this stay bearable?" Not that I don't love my boyfriend and his parents, I do. But I have grown so accustomed over the last 7 years to performing regularly. And I don't know how to function without that adrenaline rush every night, or that challenge to like write new material or interact with a new audience or something. And so I was like, okay, how am I going to keep comedy alive? And Portland hadn't shut down totally. They shut down their venues, but Michael's, which is a great little arts and crafts store, was still open. So my boyfriend and I went to Michael's. We bought a brick, like wallpaper kind of thing. And we papered his whole wall with brick, because if you go to comedy clubs, most of it will have a brick wall behind you. And we got this poster board with all these little lights, like literal little lights, and we made Remy's Comedy Club. And I remember he was like, no one's going to want to do this. Like, I can't imagine people wanting to do comedy over the internet. Like, we're so used to engaging with the audience and really getting the laughter as feedback. Like, how's it going to work out? And I was like, well, I'm just going to noodle with some things and hopefully it'll be okay. And he downloaded this app for me that was like an audience track. So it would have laugh buttons, it would have ooh buttons, it would have claps, it would have or whatever. So I was like, okay, I can be the audience for my comics that will come into my club. So if you go on Instagram, it's still there, Remy's Comedy Club. And sometimes we bring it back for like special events, like, when things get very, very locked down or everybody seems to be at home, I'll open it up again. But yeah, I did the first Remy's Comedy Club show on March 12th, 2020. And I was the first internet comedy show in the pandemic. And I don't want to say I'm a trendsetter or anything, but a lot of shows followed suit. People started doing shows on Zoom, which was great because you could actually hear the audience. You could see them. There was one Zoom show I did where there was a guy getting a haircut the whole time, which was so funny, and all the comics riffed on. So that was really cool. And yeah, I would do my shows once a week. And I would have this like little like playlist in the beginning. It was all TikTok songs because that's everything that we were on. We were just on TikTok. And it had like a little card. It was like, go get a drink, get a joint, like make yourself comfortable because this is going to be a comfy little comedy club experience. And everybody would come in and I would have amazing comics from all over the country, whether they were from all over there or they were just locked down in different places. It was the first time that I could have a truly global comedy show, which you can't, if you're in New York, like, yeah, maybe somebody's in town from Bangladesh, but like you can't get somebody in real time who's in Bangladesh, like all these different comics on different time zones and stuff and dealing with things in their own way. So that was really fun. And they would tell their jokes and I would clap and I would ooh and I would whatever. And yeah, that was a really essential way to keep comedy alive for me, which I didn't even know if it would work out. But I felt even the first show, I was like, oh my God, I have this same exact adrenaline rush as when I would get off stage in real life. I would also get to hear these great jokes in real time that people were thinking of in their bedrooms and stuff. And so it was a treat for the audience, but it was really a treat for me because I don't just love making comedy, I love listening to comedy. It's one of my favorite things to do. Yesterday I told you I had a 6-hour driving day, and after 6 shows you would think, oh my God, you must be like sick of like comedy and hearing other people. And I was like, no, like I listened to stand up the entire way out there, because that feeds me. And I will say music feeds me too. And her song like that, like really reminded me how essential music is. But the guy I was performing with this weekend is a musical comic. So he plays his guitar and he sings to the audience, and their repartee is amazing because he'll just say, oh, like, where should you do this? And then he'll riff on it, and then it'll be so funny. And we ended up having sing-alongs at the shows this weekend because everybody was just so into it. And it was like this really great way of just like coming together after like a year apart. So I'm constantly listening to comedy. I'm constantly seeking out other comics that I can like showcase or have on my podcast or all that stuff. And specifically stand-up. I love TV, obviously, but I've always loved stand-up. I grew up in these people, they want singing. They want more singing. They're not into comedy. I'm sorry. I'll try to sing, but you won't like it. We should bring her back. But yeah, so on the comedy track, I've always wanted to do it. I grew up in New York City. I grew up watching Saturday Night Live and seeing all these people performing these amazing characters. And I would think to myself, I feel like all my friends are hanging out without me. You know, like I feel like I don't know these people, but I think they would like me if they met me, and I would love them. And that's all I've ever really wanted is just to get. There's construction going on here. Just to get to the place where I was around people who were making funny jokes often, just because it improves the quality of life. And so I was watching SNL. I also, in like 8th or 9th grade, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was an illegal downloading site called Kazaa, where everybody would get their music off of. And I would download a lot of music and I loved it. But then I saw that you could also download Comedy Central half hours, which were people's specials that they'd been working on and like really honing. And I discovered Nick Swardson and Pablo Francisco and Maria Bamford and Adam Ferrara and Wanda Sykes and all these amazing comics that like hadn't really pushed through yet. They were still coming up, and I really just liked their brand of comedy. And I was like, this is so good. And I would memorize their sets. Like I would listen to it so much that like it became a thing. And I remember at 14, I said, I want to do this. You know, like I think this is something that I could do, and that would be really fun to have as a career. But I didn't think it was an option because I grew up on the Upper East Side. I went to private school. My parents were kind of insistent that I go into a normal, high-paying job like a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant or somebody who works in finance or something. And there was a lot of pressure to do those things because my brain doesn't really work like that. I've never been amazing at school. I've never been amazing at normal scheduling, even like a 9-to-5 job. I've had some of them, but I'm not amazing at it. It doesn't really like fill my soul or keep me going. And so when I graduated, I was starting a company. I wanted to manufacture expandable little leather belt loops because I noticed that there was an issue because a lot of people were wearing belts, but the belts would be too long and they'd be flopping around or whatever. And I'd see them haphazardly taping them or, you know, using a hair thing and stuff. And I was like, oh, there's got to be a better way. So I invented this little expandable leather belt loop, and it was called a tuck, and it was really fun. And I knew that I'd have to raise some money to start this company. So I enlisted the help of Kickstarter, which is a great website where people start their businesses. And on Kickstarter, everybody has to make a commercial. So people know what you're selling, who it is behind the product. Should they trust you? You know, like whatever, what should they invest? And they would get Like if you invested like $100, I think you would get like 10 packs of what I was selling. So I had to make this commercial, and I was like, I should write it because I think I'm funny and I have some funny friends. So maybe I should, collaborate with them and write this commercial. And we came up with something very funny. And then I was like, okay, well, what about the acting part? Should I hire somebody to act, or should I just do it myself? And I did acting classes in college. And I remembered specifically one day in college after acting class, I got a little toasty, went to a bar with some of my classmates and got a little drunk. And one of my classmates said, "Oh my God, I have to go. I have to go to improv practice." And I was like, "You do improv?" And she was like, "Yeah, do you guys want to come to improv practice?" And for those of you who don't know improv comedy, it's literally comedy with a group of people. Nothing is written. You do everything in real time, creating a story, creating scenes and characters with these other people that you maybe have never met, which was the situation I was going into. But I was drunk enough, and I said, that sounds fun. So I went and I did it, and it was one of the most fun times that I've ever had. 2 hours pretending, like literally doing make believe with other adults who are also like living in like a little fantasy world. And I was like, that was so fun. So when I was casting or thinking of casting the commercial, I was like, why don't I just go back to improv, like hone my skills a little bit, and then I can be the actor. And that way we don't have to pay anybody, and I can be the spokesperson if this ever takes off. Well, then I enjoyed improv too much, and I kept doing it. And I remember when I put out the commercial, the company raised its money. Everybody said the product's great, but the commercial is really something special. That's funny. You're a great actor. We like seeing you on screen. And it was the first time that I really felt like, oh, okay, I feel like I have now permission to do this. For some reason, I just felt it was not an option to do this. And like, who would want to listen to you, and who would want to see you, and who cares about your perspective or whatever? Um, and this was the feedback that it was like, we care. We like it. We like the commercial. We like you, whatever. The product's cool too. And so I kept running that company, but at the same time, I was doing improv. And I was doing improv at this place called UCB, Upright Citizens Brigade, which was started by Amy Poehler and a bunch of other comedians in like the 90s. And it was just so fun and so difficult too. Like improv is tough to do. And so when you would do a good job, it really felt amazing. And it was such a team aspect, like you were performing with other people. And so if the show went well, you knew that you worked well together. And I started doing these things called jams, which it's like a band jam, like a bunch of people get together and play an instrument, but instead you're playing yourself as the instrument, you're acting and doing improv. And so at these jams, there would be a bucket. You put your name in the bucket, and then maybe they call your name out. And one night they called my name out with 8 other people, and we did like an 8-minute little performance. Like, think about how crazy this is. People you've never met doing content that you've never done and hoping that it's funny. And so I did it, and I loved it. And then afterwards, this guy who was in the audience, who would become a great friend of mine, came up to me and he said, "You are so funny. You should do stand-up." And I was like, "Thank you. And I agree. How do you do that?" And he kind of explained the ropes in the New York comedy scene to me, the New York stand-up scene specifically, where he was like, okay, these are the list of open mics. There's freemicsnyc.com. There's badslava.com. I think Bad Slava is actually international at this point. So if anybody here wants to start out, or, like look at mics in your area, and an open mic is a thing where it's open. Anybody can sign up. You usually pay $5 to perform. You can do 5 minutes of comedy. Sometimes it's a 3-minute mic. Sometimes it's a 2-minute mic. Sometimes you get more if more people didn't come. But that's where I started out. And he was like, okay, so you'll see these mics, and you'll want to amass content before you go there. It's different than improv. You want to go with something written, obviously. So he advised me, walk through the world as you normally do. And then anytime you think something is funny, write it down. Even if it's not a fully fleshed out joke, just write it down. Like I get too in my head about like judging myself for not concrete things. Um, so I even have a notepad called shitty thoughts, just shitty. It's not anything yet. It's just a thing that I had. Maybe we'll come back to it and write it into something. And that was his suggestion. Just keep writing things down, see what comes up over and over again, see if you can relate those things to each other, and then try to put it into joke structure. And you can look up joke structure online, but basically it's a premise, a punchline, a twist. Like you always start with the premise, obviously, which is, isn't Harry Potter a weird movie? And then people go, well, why is it a weird movie? And then the twist would be, I just think Moaning Myrtle is a pervert, and they're like, oh, wait, I didn't expect that to come out. Okay, yeah, tell me more. And then you have something called an act out, which is when you act out what you think the thing is. So I have a joke about Moaning Myrtle where I'll say, yeah, it's just so strange. Every movie she's like sexually harassing these little boys. Like she'll come in and she'll be like, oh, Harry, I saw your penis. And then you're like, whoa, that's so crazy, And then you have the punchline, which is like, yeah, everyone's freaking out. There's a troll in the dungeon. No, there's a pervert at your school. And within that structure, obviously, you can grow, you can turn it around. There's comics that have punch, twist, premise twist, premise punchline, like how people work different ways. And that's the great thing about a mic and testing out your content is you try those different things, you do different iterations, and you always record yourself. I always have my voice recorder on during a mic, during a show, anything, where I can listen back to, okay, maybe I said something different that time and it worked. So that's something that I want to put in the next time I do it. Or maybe there was an audience member who called out and said, Quirrell's creepy too. And I say, yeah, that's a double pervert because he's got one on the back of his head, And so it's like, if that worked out, then maybe I would put that in the next, like somebody called out once and they said this and no. So that's how kind of jokes work. And you think of them and put them into practice. Now, mics are very interesting because anybody can do it. So you'll have people who have never done comedy. You've got people who have been doing it for years, all in the same room. No one is an audience. There's no audience for a mic. It's just the people who are trying out their stuff. And my advice for anybody who wants to do this is before you perform on a mic, just go to a mic. Just visit the mic. See who's performing. See what the caliber of comedy is. Because I remember that's the first thing I did is I'm not ready to do it. I'm ready to sit there and watch. And I think I actually went to somebody else's first mic. I was sitting there and I was watching all the comedy. And I got to this point where I go, these people aren't funny. I could do this, and it kind of like hyped myself up because I was like, this is the bar. Okay, I can do this. I even had a friend attend a mic with me once because I was like, I have to work some stuff out. And she was like, okay, I'll come with you and just watch. This is a girl she's a news anchor now. She's got no comedic aspirations or anything. And she was sitting there with me and she's like, everybody sucks. And I was like, yeah, everybody sucks. You think you could do better? And she goes, I do. And I go, well, I know the guy who does the sign-up sheet and I could get you in. And she goes, yeah, fine, sign me up. And so I signed her up and she told 3 stories. Were they amazing jokes? No, but they were stories that she tells in normal life that she knows get laughs. Like, when you're at a dinner party or something like that, or you're like meeting somebody for the first time and you're telling them a story, it's a story that you've told a million times. When they're going to be interested, when they're going to laugh. That's essentially stand-up that you're doing in your everyday life. And you'll notice, if you're in a relationship or if you have a sibling or a colleague that is doing the same spiel over and over. You're like, you hear that spiel over and over. They've mastered it. So there's people doing this comedy in regular life that they don't even realize is comedy. And so she told those 3 stories. They got laughs. She did a good job. She never wants to do it again. But now she's done it. So if anybody's thinking about it, why not do it? It's a fun thing to do. It's a fun thing to say that you did. And it really is an adrenaline rush. So that first mic, I just sat there. I watched. I saw everybody be so bad. And then the next time that I was ready, I was like, okay, I'm going to do a mic. But I am a very meticulous person. I'm a Virgo. And I need things to be planned. Are you a Virgo?
I am.
Yeah, I could tell
Virgo
by
supremacy.
it was immaculate. But yeah, so
Thank you.
I don't really like, for somebody who comes from an improv background, improv's not my natural inclination. I want things to be perfect. So I took this list of notes that I had and I wrote it into a 5-minute set. And I didn't just write it, I performed it for myself in the mirror with my voice recorder. I would do the 5 minutes and then I'd listen to it back. And I would say, okay, this could use a tweak or whatever. I'd rewrite it, re-record it, listen to it back. And then I was like, okay, how about my facials? And so I opened my photo booth and I started filming it. And I would record it, watch it, change some notes, do it again. And by the time, I think it was like 3 videos that I had done, I was like, I'm ready. This is going to be good. And I did my first mic. I did it flawlessly. Like, I don't like to brag much, but I was amazing. I was a star. People asked me how long I'd been doing, and I said, this is my first day. And they were like, oh my God, well, I have a show. Would you like to do my show? And that was something that my friend TJ, who told me to do stand-up, taught me how to do all of this. TJ Del Reno, shout out to him. He was like, yeah, that's usually how the machine starts going, is you perform at mics. People see, I like that person. I want to put them on my show. You perform on those shows. Other people at those shows maybe say, I have a show too. I'd like you to do that show. Something that I was really lucky with too is, in the beginning, I was still performing. I had an improv team that we'd have like a monthly show and stuff. And I told them, I think I'm going to start getting into stand-up. I've done a few mics. I really like it. And instead of being like, no, get the fuck away. Can I say that? Can I curse here?
It's okay. Slip-ups happen.
Okay. Instead of them being like, no, we're done with you, which, like, a lot of people think there's like a war between improv and stand-up, like maybe some, but they were very nurturing with me. And they were like, we still love you and we still want you to be a part of our troupe. So how would you like to kick off every show that we have with 10 minutes of stand-up? Which is wild at that stage of stand-up. You don't get 10 minutes anywhere. I'd only done 5. So I was like, okay, but this will be a great place to like hone it, because improv audiences, they are a little nicer than stand-up audiences. They are a little nicer than mic audiences. Obviously, mics are just other comics that are there to work on their stuff. So they're not necessarily the most responsive. Sometimes they're writing their own jokes. They don't want to give you laughs because it makes them feel better about themselves. But the improv audiences were really welcoming and warm, and they let me kind of like play around. There was one day that I brought a sex toy as my microphone because I thought it would be funny, and that audience was just all for it. They were like, that is the funniest thing I've ever seen. And yeah, so I got to really like practice with them. And then eventually I was like, I love you, improv team, but scheduling shows with 9 people is really hard, and I need to go out on my own. That way, if somebody says, hey, I've got an 8 p.m. tonight, I can be like, yeah, I'm in. I don't have to text everyone and be like, can we do this show? It's a way more lone wolf. If you've performed and you bombed, you bombed. If you performed well and you did well, you did well. On improv, it was like, was that me? Was it you? Who fucked up? Oh, I'm so sorry.
Every time you say the F word, it's just overly funny.
I just can't. See, this is why podcasting is so nice because of editing. But also we're allowed to say whatever we want. Anyway, I left my team and I was like, I'm just going to be focusing on stand up. And they were fine with it. I think the team wanted to disband anyway. So everybody kind of went off into their own things. One started going to Broadway. One started running New York City bus tours. Like we all did our new thing. And my thing was stand up. And so, yeah, I would keep hitting up these mics. I would maybe do 3 mics a night. Start getting to know the other comics in the community, seeing how many mics they were doing, what are the shows they were on, who are the good producers. Yeah, and so then they would ask me to do shows and stuff, and I was like, why don't I start running my own show? Because then I can pick the different comics that I want to perform and not just have them on my show, but get to meet them in real life and maybe have them see my comedy and maybe they would want to help. So the show I started running was at a bar and it was on the Lower East Side and it was called Our Famous Friends. And the gimmick was that we just book people way funnier and way more famous than us and you have a great time and maybe they see me and like want to be friends after or something or book me or both. And that is like kind of like a big part of comedy is like it's not just colleagues, it's like friend relationships. So if you are friends with somebody, they're more likely to take you on the road and open or have you open for them, just like my friend JR. Can you guys hear the construction?
No, not anymore.
Okay, good. And yeah, so I was running that show for about 2 years and it was really, really great. And people would come. It was like every Tuesday. And like a Tuesday is like a what kind of night? Like, what else are you doing besides going home after work? And oh, that's so nice. Somebody said, I'm a little late to the party. Glad to see Remy Kassimir here. I'm glad to see you here. And yeah, we're just talking about how I got started in stand up. And yeah, so at this point, I was running the show every week. I was meeting amazing comics, people that I like really looked up to, like people that I was just like, I can't believe you're even saying yes to this show. Because I didn't really understand that the greatest thing you can give to a comic is stage time, so they don't have to go to a mic. They want to perform for a real audience. And we had a real audience. And yeah, it got known as like one of the really good shows in the New York comedy circuit. So people would start reaching out to me. Then like that made me put on my producer hat and I would have to watch these other videos of people submitting themselves to me only 2 years in. And I was like, oh, like, this is wild. And I would vet them and I would have them on the show. And if they were great, I would have them back. And eventually, a comedy club nearby heard about the show, and they were like, "We would like you to have a show here." And I was like, "What? Like at a New York comedy club? Like that's crazy!" And I didn't want to stop my bar show, but I said, "Okay, well now I'll have 2 shows." So I had Our Famous Friends at Rochelle's, and then at the Stand, I started a show called Bacon Bits, which was a Sunday brunch show where we would give the audience free bacon and we would tell them bits, which is, jokes are called bits in stand up. And it was fun. People would get drunk, which is great for comedy sometimes. It's also very bad for comedy sometimes because they just can't help talking. And sometimes the comics are really good with that aspect because they're good at crowd work, which is like when you talk to the audience and you ask them questions about themselves and then you make jokes about them. And, I'm not a huge crowd work person. I'm more like, as I said, written jokes, but it's something that I'm working on now. And was working on I've always been working on because I was hosting those shows. And when you host, it's not your set. Like, yes, you're doing jokes, but it's also making the audience feel like they're a group of friends. They're your group of friends. You're just there as like the glue between the other comics. Now, hi, it's me again. How's everybody doing? Are you guys drinking? Oh, I'm so jealous. I can't drink. Every time I do, I puke and cry, and then kind of like tell a little joke about that stuff. So it's less long form jokes when you're hosting. It's more, oh, where are you from? Oh, Paris. Okay, yeah, I love Paris because it reminds me how nice people everywhere else are. Then you kind of like make fun of them that way. And yeah, I did a show in Paris once, and the loudest laugh I got was, you hear that? Somebody's upstairs is getting destroyed.
Sounds like that.
Hello.
Or maybe they're just trying to drill a hole to get to you.
Yeah. They really want to hear this conversation. They're like, I've always wanted to do an open mic. I just didn't have the courage. I'm like, go to the mic and listen how bad everyone is. But yeah, so I ran that show for about, I guess, 4 years. But that was really great because then it got me into the club scene. And then I would start getting booked more at that club. And then other clubs would see, oh, well, she gets booked here. Okay, cool. We can book her here. She's funny, na, na, na. And then the next level to getting booked, you can get booked on a show. Like most shows, they're like a showcase format where it's like 7 to 9 comics. Sometimes it's 5, but it's like a bunch of little comics with a host. And then you can start getting booked on shows called headliner shows. And I only did my first headliner show December of this year. I had never gotten booked as a headliner. And it was just so exciting because it means that the people are coming for you. They're not just coming for comedy, they want to see you. And at this point, I was like, okay, how many minutes does a headliner get? And they said 30 to an hour. And so, oh my God, okay. I don't know if I have 30 minutes. Even though I'd done 30 minutes before, I was like, I don't know, because it was coming out of the pandemic. And I was like, I'm like rusty. Like, what do I do? And then I was like, you know what? I've seen people who I don't think are as funny headline. Like, I should just take this opportunity, Like sometimes I will hold myself back from things if I don't think I'm ready. And this time I was like, I should really just capitalize on the fact that somebody thinks I'm able to do this. How, if they can think I'm able to do this, how come I don't think I'm able to do this? Like maybe I should reframe and retrain my brain. And so I said, yeah, I'll take it. And I started posting about it and I was really excited. And then there was another comic. This sounds very mean, but there was another comic who I don't find very funny. And they had just said, I just did my first hour. You an hour of material? Okay, if this person can do it, then I can definitely do an hour. So I ferociously started going through all of my notes, every joke I've ever had. I literally have a notepad where it says every joke we have. And the way I don't write them out full form, I write them like I have a joke, avocado, moaning myrtle, oxytocin, or whatever. And it was like a 72 joke long list. And I was like, okay, I think, like we could do this. This sounds like plausible. How do we organize it? Because organizing is very important in Virgo life and in stand-up. Because you want your long sets, you want any set really to feel like an essay, where it's like you have your beginning, your little paragraphs, and then you have the end where you reference the beginning again. And that's called a callback.
I'm gonna interrupt you for a little bit because the structure you mentioned, I actually follow that structure.
You do?
I do.
For
Like
hosting?
I start the live with an intro. Yes,
Yep.
I start the live with an intro, and towards the ending, I reference the beginning.
Yep.
And
it's a very human and natural thing to do, but it's also something we've learned in school of like an essay, like you have your beginning, you make your points, you restate the beginning. And anytime in stand-up where you are saying something that you've already said in the beginning, that's a callback. And it usually will get like a louder laugh because they already know that about you. So I organized my jokes by category. I have my weed category. I have my dating category. I have my lockdown category, which was all jokes that I wrote in lockdown and about Corona and, all that stuff. And my family chunk, I have a good amount on my family. And so I just put all these chunks together and I started moving them around and seeing where they fit. What should they learn about me first? Then what can I expose? Then how did each joke play into each other? And then I was like, okay, some of these things, they require other jokes to happen first. So like I have a joke about a pregnancy scare, which I cannot tell that joke if I've already told you I'm on birth control. So my birth control joke has to come after the pregnancy scare. And this is all logical stuff, but it's like you have to sit down and do it because, if you say, oh, I just had a pregnancy scare, and they said 5 minutes ago, she mentioned she was on the IUD. How is she having a pregnancy scare? Like it doesn't really add up. And you don't want to add more words into the jokes that you've like so finely honed. So it's really, the order is important. And I color coded my chunks because visually that's always how I've studied in school for anything is color coding things. And then I was like, okay, I basically memorized this, but now let me flesh it out and see if it amounts to an hour. So then I went back and I started typing every joke out verbatim, even down to the, wow, it's so great to be here tonight. That kind of stuff. Wow, you're a great audience. Where are you from? Amongst my jokes. And it ended up being like 7 full pages like this, full. And I was like, okay, I have it. And then I did the same thing that I did with the open mic, where I recorded it, I listened to it, I tweaked it, I recorded it on video, I listened to it, I tweaked it. And then because I have ADHD, and because this was the first time I was doing this, I didn't want to have a deer in the headlights moment where I forgot everything. And because my boyfriend, who's been doing this too, he's been doing it since high school, he once had a deer in the headlights moment where he just walked off stage, just left and walked home because he couldn't remember his jokes. And I was like, I've sold out this venue. I can't walk out. It's not an option. So I got myself a little whiteboard and I wrote my 1-word things after I had done the full thing. Then I went back to one word, also color coordinated. So that way, when I was on stage, I would look back and stuff. If there, there's tricks. You can take a sip of your water while looking over there. You can lean on the stool and say, oh my God, and take a pause, and people think that you're just taking a pause, but really you're looking and you're refreshing yourself. Or at one point I just said, you guys, I got super bad ADHD and I forgot what the next joke is. And then that got a laugh, because it's honest and it's in real time. And then I just like squat down next to my whiteboard and I was like, what does that say? Like, what did I write? And then that became part of the joke and stuff. And I ended up getting to 50 minutes. That's where are you going? All right, bye. That's my podcast producer. I got to 50 minutes and I was like, okay, well, that was the end of my jokes. Does anybody else have something they want to talk about? Because I really want to hit an hour. That's my goal tonight. And then I took suggestions from the audience. They would say bar mitzvahs or whatever. And I started talking about my bat mitzvah and talk about that. And I ended up getting to 60 minutes and I was like, Okay, we did it. And it was like super fun, very triumphant. Now I filmed it as well. So now I have clips for the internet should I ever want to put them up there. Most people, most comics do put their comedy online. I haven't yet. I think it's kind of funny when somebody comes to see me as a comedy fan when they've never heard my comedy. Um, or especially, I have a lot of listeners to my podcast, which I started because I had never had an O. I don't know if we can say that word on here, but I never had an. And so I started this podcast to learn how to do that. And so I have a lot of listeners that will come strictly because they're a fan of that. I help them with their sex lives or something like that. And they'll come to the show. And my favorite compliment is, I didn't think you were going to be that funny. And I'm like, thank you. Like, honestly, I love having a low expectation and coming in and being like, wait, I ended up having a really good time. I actually, this is a funny story. When I was performing with that improv team, I came up after a show once and there was 3 people from my high school there. And I was like, "What are you guys doing here?" And they were like, "We're here for the show." And I was like, "Oh yeah, the next one's starting right now. Like, you should check it out." And they were like, "No, we're here for your show." And I was like, "But my show's over." And they were like, "We know. We were at the show." And I was like, "Oh." And they were like, "You were really funny. We didn't think you'd be funny." And I was like, "Well, thanks and fuck you." Like
It's all right.
sorry guys.
We chill. We chill.
I've never believed my mother when she said you have to check your language, and now I'm like, you might have been onto something, mom. um, but yeah, I now am not just booked at clubs. I am also touring with other comics, which is really exciting. So, like I said, my friend Ashley, she was like, she has this massive fan base too from her podcast, and she was like, I'm not going to not do stand up anymore just because of COVID. Like, there are all these outdoor shows that were popping up in New York um, throughout the winter and stuff. People were doing outdoor shows, masked shows, obviously, because they really needed their stage time. And she was like, let's do an outdoor tour. So we went all the way down the West Coast, from Seattle to Portland to Carmel to San Diego, Sacramento, Oakland, um, LA. And it was the first time that another comic took me with them and was like, "You're going to be my opener. I trust you enough to warm up this audience for me." And that meant a lot to me, um, because they could have anybody. When you're touring, it's not 5 people on a lineup where it's like, okay, it's going to be so many. It's an opener, a feature, and the person, so you really have to be on board with your team. And we just had the best time. Also, her audiences are like 90% lesbians. So, like, every house we stayed at had cat. Love it. Best time of our lives. And then on that tour, our this guy that I just opened up for, that's where I met him. Was he met up with us in Sacramento and continued on to Oakland and Carmel with us, and he was the host, and I was the feature, and Ashley was the headliner. And then just this week, JR calls me. He goes, "I've got a big show in New York. Are you in New York? Like, I'd love you to host." It's like, what? Like, how incredible is this? Like, a lot of it is just, it builds on itself. And it's not just, are you funny? It's like, did I have a good time with you on tour? And we did. And like, he's one of those people too. I've had him on my podcast as well because he's just such a sensitive soul. You guys would love him. You should try and get him. He like has so many great life principles. He lived in a van for a year. He is really open to talking about relationships and love languages and all of this stuff, like, just like a really good person, which is something that I have been afforded in this business, but also is one of the really toxic things you hear about in this business is how men treat women, it being a boys' club, people sexually harassing people that they're working with because initially there weren't that many women, people making fun of queerness, people making fun of different races or whatever, like you do come across some racist, homophobic people in this business. And sometimes I don't want to work at certain clubs because they do book those types of people. And it is an existential kind of, ooh, what am I doing if these are the people that I'm working with? Like, what does this say about me? And like, also, like, if I find that person funny, but I know that they're a bad person, like, can I separate the art from the artist? Like, I don't know. And it gets very heady. So it's really special and exciting to find somebody who you're not only a fan of their comedy, but you're a fan of them as a person. And it's easy for you to be like, oh yeah, we can build a future together. Like maybe we'll be in movies together someday because I trust you and I don't think you're going to get canceled because I don't think you're going to do anything bad. And if something does happen where somebody brings up a situation that they were uncomfortable in, I know that you're the type of person that's going to look inward and reflect and grow. There are comics that never do that. We've heard about all of them where they've been canceled, but they're not canceled. They're still touring. They're making millions of dollars on Netflix. They're making hand over fist, and still saying the same thing, still making the same misogynistic jokes. And it's not only like upsetting, but sometimes it's disappointing that you're like, ugh, I looked up to you and this is the best you could do. Is like some hateful language that's not just hateful, it's hack. It's old. Like I was listening to this podcast last night with this comic that I really like. He is somewhat controversial sometimes, but he grows, and he was talking about this recent, I don't know if you guys know about like the Joe Rogan controversy that's going on now with Spotify, and people wanting his episodes down because of misinformation. And he said the N-word a million times and he's really transphobic or whatever. This guy was kind of talking about that. And he was like, I don't do racial humor anymore. He's like, not because like, like, it's not even that I like, oh, so staunchly believe that you shouldn't do it. He's like, but it's hack at this point, like leave it to the people who are that ethnicity to make fun of their group, like keep it in the family. Like I can still talk about Jews. I'm a Jewish person. Have I pared down on some of the jokes that if in the wrong hands could start something bad? Yeah. Like there were some jokes that I made in the beginning that my mom said, I'm really not comfortable with that. And I don't think it's worth the laugh for what you're saying about our people. So of course, sometimes you're like, okay, we don't do that anymore. Or just certain language, you can alter it so that it's not so hurtful and still funny. And yeah, so when I find these comics that are on the same page as me and that have like a really similar goal, I feel very, very lucky. And I feel very lucky that JR, we met, in that tour. That'll probably never happen again. That was a really special moment in time. Not that Corona was special, but that we were like, this is so important to us that we need to keep going and keep our audiences safe. And I don't think I'll ever do a backyard tour again, but it was like very fun and very cool. And yeah, so then this weekend I got to open for JR. And the story kind of comes full circle because I was preparing for my first show and I was standing in the hallway right before you go on stage. And usually they'll have all the headliners who have headlined the club sign the walls. And so you see all these comics that you respect on the walls. Oh, this was a great time, Pete Davidson. Oh, I love it here, Michael Che. This is my favorite club, Carly Aquilino. These people that you're like, I'm in the same place. This is so awesome. And I saw this one sign. It had a little star and it said TJ Del Reno. And that's the person that discovered me at that jam and helped me learn comedy and stuff. And I was just like, oh my God, like the universe, like I'm in the right place. I'm with the right people. I'm doing the right thing. And this just feels so exciting and like dare I say, sacred to me. Like I and not just people I know on the walls, but like Bob Saget was on the wall. I was like, there's a comedy legend who was here, and he's now no more, but he's here forever. And now I'm part of that family where I'm here too. And yeah, I just feel really lucky. And obviously, it's been a lot of work, and there's been a lot of financial difficulty. Like my sister, even today, was like, how do you live? Like, you don't make that much money. And I was like, you're right. Like I've altered my lifestyle where like I don't buy fresh produce. I buy like lean cuisines or cereal or something, or like a lot of times the clubs will feed us. Um, the the openers, or if the headliners, if they really want you there, they'll pay for your transportation. Like they take care of you because they know that it's difficult and that we're not making the most money. Um, but it's worth it to me. I would rather be living this way and be happy and be challenged and be creative and be meeting all of, like, you guys. Like if you come to shows, like we get to meet you. JR's audience, he is American and Filipino, and so he talks about being Filipino, and he blew up on Facebook. So 90% of his audience is like these Filipino grandmas that like you'd be like, what are you doing at a comedy show? And it was just like, they're so funny and so supportive, and like also down to laugh. And every time you have an audience, it just teaches you that like people are people are people, you know? And like they're there to have a good time, and they're there to support you. And we got to meet all of them afterwards, and they were just so proud of us. It was so sweet. And yeah, I hope, you know, that eventually the next step is for me to do my own tours. I want to start traveling. I have a lot of listeners all over the world. I want to come to you guys. Like, it would be so fun to just like experience like the areas and the cultures and the people, and like um, just meet everybody and talk about like, yeah, what how did you come to this show? Oh, well, the podcast. Oh, I just love comedy. Oh, well, my dad likes comedy. And it ended up I had a really good time. And you have like, it becomes like a family for a night, that it's like this one experience that we all had together, and like little inside jokes and stuff. And like, you take away a picture with us maybe, but you also take away like the memory of that night. And we take it away too. And like, I will be living off the high of these shows until the next shows, and then I'll be living off the high of those until the one after that. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to starting my own touring. I finally got my own touring agent. Yeah. And now
Congratulations on that.
thank you. I'm very excited. Um, I'm also thinking about bringing back more virtual shows, because I did think it was so fun to have all these different people from different parts of the world there. Um, so that may be something that you guys can look forward to if I don't come there. Maybe we could all see each other on the internet again. Um, and yeah, it's definitely stressful. You definitely think about, do people like me? Do they hate me? Like a night that you bomb, you might want to quit. Friday night, those were not amazing shows for me, because I had to drive so much to get there, and I was so tired. And afterwards, I did have a little moment of, I should quit. Like I won't lie to you, I have a moment like that once a day. I should quit, because you know, you're not just seeing how you're doing, you're also on the internet. You're seeing how other comics are progressing. What are they doing? Oh, they're putting out a million clips. Oh, they're amazing on TikTok. You're doing all these things. And you compare yourself often. And well, if she exists, then why do I have to exist? Like, what is my purpose? But then you have a good show and you remember, or you have somebody DM you, oh, you really helped me, or you made me really laugh today, or I really liked your recaps on the new Sex in the City, like stupid anything that like gives you like a connection to somebody else, where they say, your life has improved my life. And I think that's what we're all trying to do in this, whether you're in one faction of comedy or the other. Like, we really are trying to make you laugh. and have a good time and bond with the people that you're with. And then have things to tell to other people out in the world. Oh, I heard this great joke the other night. It's a glue for people. And I don't want to get too intense, but this is kind of my favorite stand up story that I'd like to share with you. It's not my stand up, it's about stand up during the Holocaust. And I, I visited Germany with my family because we are Jewish and we wanted to see, culturally what happened to our people. And I had a really wonderful tour guide named Gabe, who's British. And besides being a tour guide, his other job is to interview Holocaust survivors. And he told us this incredible story when we were visiting one of the camps, and we were in the basement or the kitchen, and there were all these little like doodles on the walls of like little dancing vegetables and stuff. And he was like, yeah, so I want to tell you a story about this kitchen because I interviewed a man named David who was in this camp. And he said, working in the kitchen were the best jobs. It was the least labor intensive. You could really be yourself and stuff. And David worked in the kitchen. And they would always tell jokes and, whatever. But the only time they were ever alone, like really alone, the prisoners, was Christmas Eve, because all of the guards and stuff were in their own cafeteria or something, and they were having like Christmas party. And so all of the prisoners, the Jews, the other races, the gay people were in this kitchen, and they started a stand-up comedy show in the Holocaust. And David was one of the people that was performing. And apparently he was killing. Like, he was making them laugh so loud, obviously talking about the traumatic things that have happened to them, making fun of the guards, real stuff, but also making it funny, because that's the point of comedy, is taking life and making it funny and making it digestible. And so he's killing. They're hysterically laughing. The roof is blowing off, and a guard hears them and comes in and is so mad. And he's like, what's going on? And in that moment, David goes, I knew I had 3 options. I could keep telling my jokes that were about them. I would potentially get murdered. I would stop telling my jokes. Then this guy would come on stage, see my list of jokes that I had written, potentially get murdered. Or I can tell other jokes. And so that's what he did, is he started telling really hack, stupid jokes. Like, why did the chicken cross the road? And that type of stuff. And the audience, who knew what was going on, they started laughing more and more. The shittier the jokes got, or the worse the jokes got, the louder they were laughing. And the guard looks around and he goes, these Jews have no sense of humor. And he leaves. And so David saved his life. They got to continue on with the show. And I just think that is the most spectacular evidence of comedy triumphing during a really, really dark time, and giving people just something to bond over, and energy and good feelings, and like letting that like serotonin flood your body no matter what you're going through, like and seeing it persist, and like the human spirit persist. So I think that's like a really beautiful story. And no, I've never been in that type of situation. I hope I never will be. But it's just amazing to see how laughter can save people. And I think it saved me, because what would I be doing otherwise? Finance? No fun.
True that. Well, speaking of laughter, I really like to watch crack videos on YouTube, because when I think like I've had a really bad day and I need a dose of laughter, and what can make me laugh? Usually for stress relief, I go for reading books or listening to music, but that's not necessarily the stress relief kind of laughter. So I go for crack videos. And then I
What
watch
videos?
like a 10-minute video. It's crack videos. It's a thing in K-pop.
Crack?
It's a thing in K-pop. You take this scene and you edit in some funny subtitles, sort of like memes.
Okay.
So I watch one of those videos, like a 10-minute or 5-minute or so. And then at the end of the video, I'm like laughing. I
Yeah.
forgot all the stress. I forgot all the bad things that happened to me throughout the day. And
Hmm.
that's the stress relief. All that stress is out of my body because I laughed
Totally.
so much.
Yeah, it
So
doesn't
it's a
have to be
huge
stand up.
relief.
There's so many different mediums. I think that's why TikTok did get so popular during lockdown is people were being funny and having fun and sharing these
Exactly.
shared experiences.
But to be honest, stand up comedy really did pave the way because
Hmm.
before all this, there weren't really mediums like YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, where people would
No.
just scroll and see funny things and they would laugh. It
Right.
didn't exist back in the 90s or 80s. So that's where stand up comedy comes up because this is the source and this has all these branches of comedy. So
Hmm.
stand up comedy basically paved the way.
I
And
think so.
when I was listening to you speak, you mentioned that you made a homemade set, which was very intriguing because during the lockdown, I've seen people doing like trying out cooking dishes, especially the
Hmm.
Dalgona coffee challenge. I don't want to mention that. It's a war flashback. But okay, so it was very fun listening to how you made a homemade set and you started like practicing while recording yourself. I just
Yeah.
wanted to mention that because there are a lot of people who are singers, dancers, and the best of their own comes out in practice. So I just wanted to mention that because
Uh-oh. I don't know if she's gone or I'm gone, but I'll sing a little song to you so you're entertained if you could only see me. Are you back?
are we back?
You're back.
Cool. So what was I saying? Yeah, I was saying that there are a lot of singers and a lot of dancers who has when they practice, the best of them comes out, which they believe that when they deliver it on stage, and sometimes they think that this is not good enough. I did it way better back in practice.
Mm-hmm.
So when you record while practicing a stand-up comedy or any kind of entertainment you're doing, when you record it and you replay it and see what you did there, you can practice on it more. And that's what you
Yeah.
did right there, right?
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
saw
And
the little bits and pieces of uniqueness you did in the
right.
practice and then you
Even if
polished
it's
them.
like a facial expression, like you can write down your jokes all you want, but like sometimes like you're doing the joke and you just look at them and you go, and they laugh at that and you're like, oh, I should put that face back into that, you know? Also,
Exactly.
like just watching yourself back gives you a better grip on how other people are going to perceive you.
It
If
gives
you
you a
can
little
look
bit
at
more
you,
of
it'll be
confidence.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little bit more confidence because when you record yourself and see that I don't really look so bad. I thought I would look really bad, but it's not that bad.
Yeah.
And
Or
then
the
you
people that
proceed and
like
go
they
like,
think, oh, I'm so funny. I don't need to try. I don't know. And then they play their thing back and it's like,
I look
oh,
so dull.
there's not many jokes in here. Yeah. Time to go back to the drawing board.
Exactly. And also your notebook called Shitty Thoughts. Before that, let me read this comment on screen. Big fan of you, Remy Kassimir.
Thank you. I'm a big fan of you, of being a big
Shizudepo
fan of
actually
me.
commented this. She sang,
Oh, she's so great.
okay, another comment is, our life is full of beautiful stories. That's what I think when I listen to Remy.
So sweet. It is.
She
I mean,
really do have some beautiful stories.
I haven't even thought of how beautiful these are until I put them into this, like it's so special that I got to see TJ on that wall. Like how much of a universe moment is that?
Like, the earth is round and you saw the person you looked up the most on that wall. I can't even feel what you felt there right
Hmm.
now because it's just a huge feeling.
Huge.
And then after that, we see another comment. Remy Kassimir is so beautiful. OMG, Pramita, why are you looking so pretty? Remy
We're
is
just so
prettier.
pretty for you today. We're just two. Have you ever seen two pretty best friends? Yeah.
Speaking of that, the person who commented is actually my best friend.
Have you ever seen three pretty best friends? Because now we're a tripod.
Okay, another comment is I'm a little late to the party. Glad to see Remy Kassimir here. You read this comment and you were like, yeah, you're late to the party, but you're still here.
Yeah,
Good to
no,
have
so
you
nice.
here.
I'm so stoked on all of you
Big
guys.
fan.
I
Same.
gotta come there.
Us moment.
This comment. Do you know what this word is?
I was trying to guess.
So the other day he asked me what my favorite word is. I said cozy. In America or in English, my favorite word is cozy. Oh, so cozy, like feel good, everybody, warm, happy. And then I was like, actually, there's a Danish word for this, and it is hygge, and it is the feeling of just like Christmas time coziness when everything smells good and you're cuddly and you're warm. That's hygge. So we're having a little hygge moment right here.
Oh, I actually relate to that. That should be my favorite word too. Relate.
Hygge.
Okay, she commented back that bestie squad, yo. We're a squad now.
Besties for life. Yeah.
Definitely.
Isn't that cool? Like, who
Okay.
thought that stand-up
Very.
comedy would lead me to having best friends?
See, this what happens when you do something you're very passionate in, and then you find people you're supposed to be passionate for and with. That is just an amazing moment. She
Yeah.
is unintentionally funny. True. You're naturally funny.
I like unintentionally. I do a lot of things
Oh,
with intention, and if it's happening unintentionally, that's awesome.
that's a plus.
It's a plus.
Okay, I want to ask you something, which is that, okay, before that, I should ask this one on the screen. What would be the title and the last line of your autobiography if you were to write one at this point of time? That is one of my favorite questions, to be honest. I really look forward
Mm.
to what people answer to this one.
Ooh. So I used to think that my title would be self-loathing narcissist because you kind of have to be a narcissist to get into this business. But also, I hate myself so much a lot of the times, which is where I get a lot of my jokes from. So maybe that's what I'll keep, self loathing narcissist. And the last line would be I finally learned to love the hate.
That is so beautiful, to be honest.
Thank you.
Like, there's a song lyrics that says that getting insane to stay sane. It kind of relates to that.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you put two totally opposite two words in one sentence, it just ends up sounding so beautiful. I just realized that. Oh my gosh.
I love an oxymoron, like jumbo shrimp. So cute.
Cool. Okay, so what I was going to ask is you have this notebook called Shitty Thoughts, right?
Yeah, it's a
So
notes
I
app
would
on my
want to
phone.
I would want to ask that amongst that notebook of shitty thoughts, what is the
Mm-hmm.
most shittiest thought that you have put down in there?
Um, okay, so I used to live with my grandmother, and she's passed away. Rest in peace, Nanny. You're the best. Uh, but everyone in her building was also really, really old. So the thought I have, like my last thought, is a lot of the people in my grandmother's building are scared of me. I just moved too quickly for them. It's
That's
not a fully fleshed out joke. It's just one day I happened to be walking really fast, and an old lady was like, like,
she was
she didn't
scared for like,
expect
what creature are
somebody
you?
to be that fast.
Uh, Also, another question is you said that you sometimes let audience contribute on the jokes, even though you said that you're more of a written joke person,
Mm-hmm.
but still, amongst the people you've heard or amongst the stand-ups you did, what was the most interesting audience contribute you've got as a stand-up comedian by far?
I have had, okay, so I'll do 2 parts. I have, for the podcast or whatever, like I do talk about it on stage because I have jokes about it and stuff. And one woman called out, "I'm 50 and I never have." And I was like, that's insane. How have you not murdered everyone by now? And so now that's kind of in my joke artillery that I'm like, I didn't do it until 28. How did I not murder everyone by now? And then the other night, I was asking people about addictions that they developed over lockdown. And this guy said cough syrup. And I was like, was that an addiction or were you just sick? Like, did you have COVID? um, but yeah, that's something that I'm really working on, is letting people's stuff inform me more. Still building.
You're still good enough, but development is the key to everything. People develop, and you will more too.
Yeah.
Okay, so another thing is you said that you've met a lot of stand-up comedians who are homophobic, racist, or they
Mm.
pop misogynistic jokes.
Yeah.
So, what is your take on toxic humor or toxic sarcasm as a whole? Like, for example, I'm talking to my friends, and one of the friends make a very insensitive joke towards me. And then
Mm.
when I get offended, they say that it's just sarcasm, it's humor, I'm just joking, JK. What is your take on that?
Know your audience. So I'm not even just talking about doing a show, but if somebody makes a joke to me in private and it hurts my feelings, and I tell them it hurts my feelings, and they keep making those jokes, then it's not a joke for me. You know what I mean? It's not a joke for you. They know that they're going to hurt you and they're not going to get a response. So who's it for at the end of the day? Them? To make them feel better about themselves? That's not comedy. You know? It, especially in a private conversation like that, if you know something's going to bother someone and you still say it anyway, the joke's not for them. It's for you. And like, yeah, I'm a big fan of sarcasm. I'm super sarcastic, but when it comes to hurting other people, like it ends there, And I've had instances where, you know, I'll say something off the cuff that maybe I intended to be funny. If they didn't take it as funny, I don't do it again, you know? I was interviewing this guy for the podcast once, and he was talking about, the episode was on friendship, and he was talking about how he wasn't going to be going to this event that was like a friendship based thing. And I was like, well, maybe that's why you have so few friends. And he goes, we're not close enough for you to make that joke. And I said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'll cut that out. You know, like, even if the audience would think it was funny, if he doesn't think it's funny, then probably other people would be hurt by that joke. Um, and like, not that you have to write comedy with kid gloves. You will hurt or offend some people most of the time, Everybody has different things from whatever their background is, whatever they've gone through in life. But you can always alter your material to make it easier to digest for other people. And it'll probably make the material work better. Like I used to use the violent sexual assault word in my jokes and I don't do it anymore because one night after a joke, he said, not he, some guy wrote me and was like, "Oh, I love this joke, da 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 da. I don't want any more of those blanks running around." And I didn't like seeing that word projected back at me. So I said, "I'm going to take this out of my set. I'm going to use something else." Just because I don't want anybody to think that they can use that, you know? Um, and I do think a lot of comics feel like stifled whenever somebody says something hurt my feelings. They think it's like offensive to them. Um, I come from the place where I hope people know that I'm trying to make them laugh. And if I didn't, I'm going to try and fix it, you know?
Oh, yeah, that's true. And especially on Twitter, people who use Twitter, they
Mm-hmm.
would see a lot of offensive words going on by and saying that, yeah, I'm just joking, it's sarcasm, it's
Yeah.
humor. Even I've had friends, male friends, who just threw an insensitive, offensive joke at me. And then when I got offended that this is not okay, then they were like, men have more humor than girls. Like where girls' humor ends, men's humor starts. That's not a good reason. And they're the reason for ruining
Oy
sarcasm, the
vey.
idea of sarcasm and humor.
No.
Like men being misogynistic, because it's also a misogynistic comment that where women's humor ends, men's humor starts. That where's the proof, bro?
Exactly. Second of all, um, when you make jokes like that and it's something you actually believe, it's not a joke anymore. You're just giving a TED talk. You're just showing us your ass, and being like, yeah, I don't respect women. Yeah, like we see you now. I used to think I wasn't funny when I was younger because I would sit at these lunchroom tables with the popular boys and they would be making fun of mentally disabled people, physically handicapped people, women, all these things. And I'd go, I must not have a sense of humor because I don't find this funny. I must not be funny because I'm not willing to make these jokes. And I think there's a very big difference between joking and punching up, you know, making fun of somebody who's got more power than you and punching down because it's not a joke at that point. Those people do have it harder than you. They have had to fight for rights longer than you. They are making less money than you. It's not cool. You need to put somebody down to make yourself feel better. Like, to me, that doesn't really show a very secure person. And that's not somebody I want to listen to. That being said, I do think that comedy, like anything, is a learning lesson and that there have been offensive things that I've said, I know that. Have my audiences given me the grace to know that I'll grow from that? Yes, because growth is a mindset that I have been in. There are other comics that once they get canceled or whatever, uh, instead of looking within, which some people do. Aziz Ansari, I think when he had that big scandal, I don't know if you guys heard about it, but it was like this very uncomfortable date that got published, and it sounded, you know, really not good for him. He literally took a step back, thought about it, talked to friends, talked to women, like surrounded himself with other people who have a growth mindset, got on stage, talked about it, talked about why what he did was wrong, and then made it funny too. Took ownership, grew. I love that. Then we see people like, I don't know, other comics that have been canceled. And instead of saying, what did I do wrong? They go, why is the audience so sensitive? These stupid women, these stupid people, like, how dare they? And they surround themselves with other comics who think that way too. Oh, everyone's so soft. Oh, they just need to. You're a expletive if you think this way. Their comedy doesn't get better. I will say that it's not it's besides being a worse off person, they don't get funnier. Like there are specials of people that have been canceled that they're like, why haven't you watched that yet? And I'm like, it's not just because he's transphobic, it's because I don't think he's funny anymore. I think he's doing old, recycled, stupid stuff that, like, it doesn't feed me. It doesn't inspire me. Do I still think, sure, maybe that person will grow someday? Yes. I don't think anybody should ever be like canceled forever. I also don't really believe in canceled forever because once people get canceled, they still do pretty well. Um, I do see people who at one point did not have a growth mindset and then now have adopted one. I welcome those people, you know, and you have to. Um, but it is really disheartening when I remember some guy said to me about Louis C.K., those women could have left the room. I said, wow, you didn't really learn anything. You're still blaming the victims. That tells me a little bit about you. That tells me I don't really feel very comfortable with you right now. You don't know what's happened to me. So I can't open up to you about, I won't feel safe. I won't feel protected. And a lot of people do make fun of like that idea of a safe space, but a safe space is just somebody who's willing to listen to you and won't judge you after. And if they do, they don't make that judgment painful to you.
Exactly. Thank you so much for this take. It got a little bit heavy, but comedy is not just for laughter. It's not just for making people laugh.
It's
You
making
still
light of
got a
the
lot of
dark.
things.
There's a lot of dark.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are comedians who has like a very bad mental health issue, and then they make fun of themselves.
Yeah,
Relate. I'm not a
like me.
comedian, but still, I
I'm
relate.
depressed. I want to go away sometimes. I have jokes about it, you know? But then you couple it with also like, don't worry, I'm in therapy. Don't worry. You know, like these are the things that you should do.
Yeah, like these jokes are very well delivered, and it makes people laugh, and then suddenly people get concerned, like, "Bro, are you okay?"
Oh my God. I literally had a show once. This girl came up to me afterwards and she goes, I'm so sorry. I said, about what? She goes, everything. I was like, oh my God, I guess my set was really dark, but like, don't worry, I'm good.
Like, these have like very mixed. They laugh at the jokes, and then they suddenly have this reality hit. Oh my god, that person might not be okay. Should I go check up on them?
Mm-hmm.
And so on.
And it
Like
is
I
sweet.
have friends like this who make fun of their own depression and anxiety. At one point, I'm like, you need to talk to people. You need to open up. Just stop making fun of your own depression and anxiety. Don't stop making fun of them. The jokes are pretty funny, but still, you
Mm-hmm.
need some help. Okay.
Yeah, no, keep making these jokes. You're clearly making it like something fun, but also take care of yourself. You know, I
Exactly.
actually, I know we're almost done, but in my relationship with my boyfriend, it took like a year that I was like in love with him. And then he finally dated me. And so I used to have this joke about how, oh, I tricked my boyfriend into dating me and na 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 na. And by that point, we were happy. We were a happy couple. But every time I would go on stage and say that joke, it made me feel bad about where we were. And then I would bring that into our relationship. And my sister said, I think you should stop telling that joke because it's warping your mind on how things actually are for you right now. So yeah, sometimes the joke is great and it's you've turned that pain into something funny, and sometimes the something funny turns it into pain again, and you kind of have to take um, inventory of that.
Exactly. Like you can't let the seriousness slip out of it while making
Mm-hmm,
jokes. When you make
mm-hmm,
a joke, it's a joke. But when the joke is over, when the joke is delivered, you get off stage, and then you're your own person again. You're in a real life again. You're
exactly.
not just a stand-up
You
comedian.
just
You're a
said
person.
exactly. I think we're twins. When's your birthday?
16th of September.
Oh, I'm the 9th. Very close.
Very.
Very close.
What's your MBTI type?
I don't know. I have to take that test.
Let me guess, the test is really long and it not really helps with ADHD.
Exactly. I've
I
started
have
them so
ADHD
many
too.
times. Yeah, we're twins. I'm like, yeah, I know
Totally.
my type. It's a bye. Like, it's out to
36
lunch.
questions? No, not today.
Yeah, maybe though. Maybe I'll get like take a little Adderall, sit down, learn a bit more about me. But I don't really need those tests because TikTok tells me everything I need to know about myself.
Well, today I was scrolling Facebook and I saw a post by one of my friends that there are a lot of people who say that TikTok is a cringe app. They just pretend to be cool because TikTok is cringe. And then my friend just stated that TikTok is not cringe. You just don't know how to use that platform. You don't have a
Exactly.
clean feed.
Or you're cringe. That's what a lot of people like. They'll be
Exactly.
like, TikTok, you have to. I saw this tweet that this guy was like, you have to be careful about TikTok because it's all sexy young girls dancing. And I'm like, bro, it's an algorithm. It's a reflection on you. Like you're a creep. I don't see sexy young girls dancing. I see babies and cooking
Cats.
and music and cats and yeah, like jokes. Like if exactly like you said, you don't know how to use it. You haven't scrolled long enough, or you have, and that's a reflection of your brain. You don't like what you're seeing about you.
In the age of social media, you are what your feed looks like. So
Exactly.
yeah, that's that.
If your feed is giving you a lot of toxic stuff, and I will say, I think TikTok is based more on happiness, which is why I like it over Instagram or Twitter. I think the algorithm is there to make you see things that you're interested in, not make you feel bad about yourself. I don't really leave TikTok feeling bad about myself. But my Twitter, I've noticed the algorithm is very toxic. My Instagram is very toxic. It will show me, Instagram will show me comics that are doing better than me. Twitter will show me comics that are saying things that hurt me. And if I engage with them, I'll see more of those things. I've been trying to do less of that. I've been trying to just get to happy. You know, the world is hard enough. Try to get to happy.
Exactly. And TikTok really stands out in case of
I think so
algorithm
too.
when it comes to that because
Yeah,
I
if you think it's
watch
cringe, you're
book
cringe.
reviews. Yeah. Like I watch very aesthetic stuff on TikTok. I watch journaling videos and then
Yes.
book reviews. I see people studying aesthetically, making notes, color
Yep.
coding their content. It is a little bit sad for me because I'm like, why am I not like that? But still, it's very refreshing. It is very,
Not
what
why
is
aren't you
it,
like that? It's
comforting
why
to
why
watch.
haven't I done that yet? You know, it can also be a
Exactly.
way for you to explore and grow later. Oh, I really like what that person did. Maybe how do I put that like do my own spin on that?
True, because after watching all these contents, like I've always wondered before I got into university, I was in like the admission phase when I was applying to universities and such. And for COVID and lockdown, I had so much free time and I was wondering if I should open a YouTube channel because
Hmm.
I like to talk, but I'm not organized enough and I didn't know what to talk about. And then I like to sing and dance too. So I ended up opening a YouTube channel just to update my covers. But now I
Hmm.
was wondering that I should update on like small little podcast on books because every book I read, I have so much to talk about them,
Girl, do
but
it.
I don't have the media.
Do
Yeah,
it.
that
Do you know what
leads to
I've
my
been doing?
next question.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
I was
yeah.
just gonna
Tell me,
say,
what are you doing?
I've been watching the Sex and the City reboot, and just like that, I'm basically hate watching it because, like, I love it, but I also hate it, and I love to hate it, and I want to share my thoughts on it. So every Thursday, when an episode would come out, I would do like a 50-part Instagram story breaking down the episode, what I think about it, and stuff. And my boyfriend initially was like, Remy, this feels like such a waste of time. Like, what are you doing? Like, you already have a phone addiction. Like, and I was like, but I need to get these thoughts out because this is how I feel. And people started responding to them so much to the point that they were like, I'm not watching the show. I'm just watching your recaps. You know, I tune in for your recaps. I followed you because of your recaps. I got shouted out on a podcast because they liked my recaps, and then I got a bunch of followers from there. So like you never know what's going to work out. And if you have a passion for something and you're like, oh, I had these thoughts, maybe somebody else would enjoy these thoughts, you know, they probably will. Like it's like in class, how they're always like, raise your hand if you have a question, because probably a bunch of other people have the same question too. And you just don't know until you raise your hand. Raise your hand. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You still have this great podcast diary of how you interpreted movies that you liked. And that's something that's for you still, even if nobody else relates to it. So I say, go do that thing.
Yeah, I used to talk to my friends while watching a K-drama, as I've said in the intro, that I am a huge K-drama person, and K-dramas usually throughout these little Easter eggs here and there, and you just have to connect them, you have to connect all the dots and how the story ends. So that is why sometimes I watch K-dramas parallelly with one of my friends. Like I tell my friend of mine that I am watching that K-drama. Do you want to watch with me? And then we watch together, and then we discuss. So same with the books. So which leads to my next question is that there are a lot of people who want to interpret their feelings or their connecting dots thingies. They just want a platform to talk, but they don't want to put that kind of effort, which is really time consuming. They might be a student, they might be in jobs. So what are your tips on starting a, say, low budget podcast on anything?
Okay. So the budget will likely be $20 for hosting fees. There's a website that I use, libsyn.com. That's where I put our RSS feed. That's where it exports to like all the other players, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple. It's $20 a month to basically you get like an hour every week because four weeks in a month, so 4 hours. And if you go over that, you'll have to pay a little extra. I would say don't invest in podcasting equipment immediately if you're really, really strapped for cash. The amazing thing about the pandemic is that we have this fantastic thing called Zoom now, where you get pretty good audio and pretty good video if your internet is okay enough, where you don't even need a podcast mic. You need headphones. Everybody needs headphones because that way it splits the tracks, which makes editing easier. There are free editors. I use Final Cut, which costed a pretty penny to my boyfriend, but then he let me just have it for free. Find a friend that has free stuff. I literally, my first recording equipment was just given to me by a friend that was like, oh, this is my old equipment. You can use this. You don't have to start with anything very sophisticated. It's more have a topic that you're very, very interested in that you could talk about forever, basically, or have a goal. My podcast the goal was to help me have my first O. I ended up doing that episode 6, season 1. Then we had to pivot the podcast to, what's this going to be about? And the thing that I found in that was the camaraderie that was so wonderful from me raising my hand saying, I have not done this. Who else is like this? Okay, you guys made me feel a little bit more normal. I feel like not like such a freak. I don't feel broken. How can I give that feeling to other people? So we've expanded into not just me trying to do a goal. How do we help somebody else get a goal? How do we talk about why these things happen to people in their lives? Like what in society made it so you didn't think you were worthy of an O, or did you think you could achieve one? So we've had episodes where it ties in religion and sex, or disability and sex, or even like finances, because so many things are, I know for women, for people with vulvas, like in this country, we live in a patriarchy, so it was men that made the money. It was men that had the control of things. And like, of course, that does trickle down into how you feel about your pleasure and what you think you deserve. So yeah, we've explored into different ways, obviously. But if you have a thing, you love reading books, you can read books forever and talk about books forever. You like watching TV, you can do it. I have one podcast about watching TV and then recapping it. Um, I I want to start another one maybe because I love pop culture. I don't know where to put my pop culture stuff. The How Come audience, they're not necessarily there to hear about Kanye and Kim, but what if I want to talk about Kanye and Kim? Maybe find the audience that wants to hear that. But yeah, basically all you need is that setup, $20. You record your first episode, you submit it to Libsyn, and you have to make your artwork. Usually, if you're not talented in artwork, get somebody who does graphic design. Uh, invest in that because the artwork is important. Make a really great blurb. What is this podcast about? Why would I listen to this? And then get some great guests. Get some guests that unless you like solo pod, which is awesome. Solo pods are great, but guests are easy to get. Everybody, not easy, but like they're way more attainable than you think. Put feelers out, message everybody, have some kind of professional thing. Hey, I'd really love to have you on this podcast because I saw that you did this and we're doing this. And more often than not, they'll say yes. And then you've got like a great Rolodex of people that you can have on. And then if they get along with you on their podcast and they like what they're doing, they might say, hey, could you come on my podcast? Because I'd really like to delve into more like what you're doing. And it's a symbiosis.
It's more of a give and take situation. Like you see someone doing podcast on something and then you're like, oh, I might be interested in that. I should try that too. And then that's how it spreads, right?
I
And
know a lot of sex podcasts have been birthed after How Come, because somebody was like, oh, I like Remy's perspective, but I want you guys to hear my perspective. And I'm like, yeah, like my whole thing is spread the word, I feel like I didn't achieve my thing because a lot of that information was gate kept from me. So it's like, yeah, you learn something, pay it forward. And now a lot of those people have had me on theirs and stuff. And so it's not just like, oh, they're stealing my audience. It's like we all work together. We're all ships rise with the tide.
okay, so thank you so much for all your take. We're almost towards the end now, but before we end, we would like to end with a stand up from you. We would love to hear on this live.
Oh,
Probably a
okay.
5-minute one.
A 5-minute set.
Your
Let's
wish.
see. Okay. So what is a topic that you would like?
What are the topics you have in hand?
Sex, weed, TikTok.
Let's go with that. Audience going to be very interested with that.
Okay, great. So, did you happen to develop any addictions over lockdown? Anything?
Drinking coffee 3 times a day, 2 or 3
Drinking
times.
coffee 3 times a day. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people developed a lot of addictions. It was either coffee or drinking or something. I got addicted to TikTok. I am so addicted to TikTok that I will go like this and expect to change my clothes. Or I'll walk into the bathroom and I'll go, where's my makeup? This mirror's broken. I know that a lot of people, yeah, they were falling off the wagon. I was just on TikTok being told that I'm bisexual and autistic. I was like, I knew about that first one, but that second one I will look into because that sounds like me. I'm on a very niche part of TikTok. It's about a movie that I like. I don't know if you guys have heard it. Have you ever seen Titanic? I love Titanic. It's so great to be on Titan Talk because I learn a lot of facts about the boat and the film. Something I recently learned on Titan Talk is that, have you seen Clueless? Do you know Elton from Clueless?
No,
Like,
I don't
Ty,
really.
why would I go with Ty? Oh, Well, apparently he screen tested for Jack Dawson. And I was like, ew, if he had been Jack Dawson, the movie would have been like Titanic. That joke usually works better when you've seen both movies. But I have a very queer for you page, because I am bisexual. I use she, they pronouns. And so when I'm scrolling through TikTok, I'm having a great time, but it's kind of problematic when I'm sitting next to my cis straight boyfriend. Like he'll be seeing me scroll through things, and I'll see a video that's like, put 10 fingers down if you hate men. And I'll be like, ha ha. And he'll look at me and he'll be like, hey, I drive you everywhere. I'm driving you somewhere right now. It's so true. We locked down together, which I loved. I know that's controversial, but I think locking down with a boyfriend is amazing because they can't cheat on you. Government said so. How great is that?
Point.
He doesn't like that joke because he's like, I would never cheat on you. And I'm like, I know, but I can't help it because I'm a very jealous girlfriend. I don't know if any of you guys here are jealous little bitches, but it's not easy to date us because we notice everything. Like the other day, Ben and I were we were laying in bed while scrolling through everyone that we hate, romance. And I noticed out of the corner of my eye that while I was scrolling, he was swiping. And I was like, what? And I looked really quick. And he wasn't swiping through a dating app or anything, but he was swiping through his camera roll. And he had stopped on this blown up picture of, pardon my language, this one ugly bitch. Shouldn't say that. I'm a feminist icon. But I got so mad and I whipped my head around and I said, who is that ugly bitch? And good news, you guys, ugly one was me. I don't know all my angles.
Oh, that's actually really sweet.
It's sweet. It's cute. It gets him off the hook.
Very sweet.
But yeah, now that I'm looking at my jokes, I'm like, I don't really have that many without curse words in them. I should work on this.
Well, you don't really need to work on your curse words whenever you're doing stand-up comedy on stages.
Not on stage, but sometimes for
it's
a
really
late night set, like if I was to do Fallon, or like one of those. I wish live-in was normalized in Bangladesh. I wish I could live in with my boyfriend. I want you to do that too. Is that not normalized for you guys to live together?
Nope, it's more of stigmatized here.
It used to be here, I mentioned I used to live with my grandmother. She used to house other male cousins of mine too. And it was always an open door policy with the men. The men could have whatever girlfriend they wanted over. But when it came to Remy, I would say, can my boyfriend sleep over? She'd go, no. And I'd say, why? And she'd go, it's a double standard. Like so proud of herself. That's a double standard. I'm like, do you want to perpetuate that double standard? So here's hoping for you guys because, yeah, it should be normalized, but it takes time for anything to get normalized.
Okay, we have this comment that, is it really necessary to have a certain number of audience before someone starts making podcast, or someone out of the blue without any pre-built audience can start it, even if he sees that no one's really listening to the content he or she is making? What's your take on that?
Make it anyway. You do have some sort of fan base in that you have family and friends. Who are the people that are liking your pictures on Instagram? Who are the people that are liking your tweets? There are people who do know you and like you. And if you do start making something, there is something about the audacity to make something that makes other people think you are worth it and listening, worth listening to. Oh, okay. He went out and he made this thing. Like, well, who is he to do that? And it's like, wait, who is he to do that? And then they'll listen to it, whether they're listening to it to hate listen, like those people that came to my show to be like, oh, we wanted to make fun of you, but you ended up being funny. You will get listeners. And if they do like it, they'll share it with other people. Obviously, you have to build that into your podcast. Say, please share, subscribe, like, no, whatever. But I would say just make it because everybody has an audience. Your friends at work are your audience sometimes. I wasn't always doing stand-up full time. I was doing real estate. a lot of my shows, my real estate colleagues would come to the shows because they want to see what Remy's doing at night. And podcasting especially is just accessible, it's just on your phone. There's no barrier to entry. If you're doing it for like months and you only have 10 listens, then maybe let the dog lie down. But I definitely don't think it should be something that should stop you. I didn't have
True.
an audience. I think I only had 2,000 followers when I started the podcast.
That's still a lot. I get like 20 to 25 views on my covers, even though I've recently started.
But that's not
But
nothing.
still, there's still audience. There's still
Yeah.
audience, and I'm glad for those 25 people
Yeah.
or those 25 times they viewed that content.
In my comedy club, we sometimes would have massive audiences because, the people that I would have on had big audiences. So they would see if they were live, and then like 6,000 people would rush into the lives. But then more often than not, if I was just curating a group of comics that doesn't really have a huge following, but they are really funny, we started calling it the Loyal 42 because it would be 42 people in the live all the time, you know? And is 42 people a lot of people? No, but it's certainly enough to feel like you have an audience and someone worth performing for and someone's day that you're making better. It's not just about you.
Exactly. Like you said, that your life has improved my life. One joke of
Exactly.
yours can make like 10 people laugh, which might be very important for the day they've gone through. So
Hmm.
amazing. The work you do is amazing, Remy. It was amazing talking to you.
Thank
And the
you.
vibes are immaculate.
Uh,
You are, as a person, chef's kiss. I am very
you're
much
so
honored to
cute.
host this show with you. No, you.
No, you. You hang up.
We're gonna know you all night.
um,
Okay, Remy.
no, I
So
feel honored that you guys had me on, and you're such an excellent host. And I think you're doing really great things. And all the people who came tonight, thank you for coming. Share the good word with your friends, and also do what you want. Like make stuff. It might help somebody else. And I'm very
thank
looking
you
forward to
so
your book
much, Remy.
pod. I think it'll be great.
Thank you so much. Well, stay in touch and people follow her on Instagram. Her handle is right in the description of this video and
I think the handle
listen to
actually
Remy's other
says
podcasts too.
Remy's Comedy Club, which is not my handle.
Oh yes, that's her comedy club handle. I
That's my
forgot.
comedy club, which is not really
Comedy club
functioning right
handle.
now. But if you want to find me, I'm just Remy Kassimir. If you want to follow the podcast, it's How Come Podcast. Write to me. I literally talk to everybody.
That's so cool. Okay, I will knock you up for
Knock me
tips or
up.
maybe just talk just talking
Do you know what knock you
because
up means?
yeah,
It
I
means
do.
get
That
me
was a pun.
pregnant. Oh, okay, okay, okay. I was like, you're gonna get me pregnant? I have an IUD.
That was a bad joke, but still I went for it. Because
I
I'm
loved
with a
it.
stand-up comedian, all right.
You're
And
right.
I have to like test my boundaries.
I love
Okay,
it.
so thank you so much for coming here. And before we end, like I've said, that we have two nightingales here today for singing, and only one nightingale has sang. So we are going to listen to the other one, and we will close out the show. So this singing angel we have here is Labiba binte Khalid. She is from
Hello.
Bangladesh Dental College. Hey, she is a pretty great singer too. I've listened to her sing before, and
I'm
she's
so
amazing.
excited.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so we'll just move on to the song. And should I do my outro then? Then we're gonna go off the show with her beautiful voice singing. So thank you to everyone for watching, and thank you, get Remy again. I don't know how many times I've said that. I have a habit of saying thank you over and over again. I
I do the
even say
same thing.
sorry a lot.
Oh, same. We're twins, man. That's what we
Totally.
learned today.
The Remy Kassimir and Tabassum Brahmi are twins.
Twins.
Okay. So, like I've said in the intro, never give up. I'm not John Cena, but I'm still gonna say never give up because there's always gonna be someone, or some situation that might save you from the hardships you're going through, and stand-up comedy. If it makes you laugh, go for it. Whatever makes you laugh, go for it, because one single laugh can be a end of your stressful day. It can let out of your stress. So, okay, thank you so much. We're gonna move on to the song,
Thank you.
and I am gonna say my outro, and I'm gonna pull off the curtain, even though there aren't any curtain here. I wish if there was. But okay, love yourself, love myself, peace. Thank you. Just listen to
Bye,
her
guys.
singing.
So first song I'm gonna sing is "Safe and Sound" by Taylor Swift. I remember tears streaming down your face when I said I never let you go. All the shadows almost cleared to light. I remember you said to leave me here alone. All that dance, passing God tonight. Just close your eyes. The sun's going down. You'll be alright. No one can hurt you now. Come morning light, you and I'll be safe and sound. Don't you dare look out your window, just everything's on fire. The war outside your door keeps raging on. Hold on to this lullaby, even when music's gone. Just close your eyes. The sun's going down. You'll be alright. No one can hurt you now. Come morning light, you and I'll be safe and sound. Just close your eyes. You'll be alright. Come morning light, you and I'll be safe and sound.
Amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
God, I literally almost cried.
That means a lot to me.
And your mama's in the chat,
It
I
was
think, which is so
beautiful.
sweet.
Well, it's 12:14 a.m. in Bangladesh, and this is like the perfect time for this song. Like the selection was amazing,
Thank you so much.
and I was like soaring. Okay, do you want to sing some more? Do you have any more songs lined up?
I can sing a Bangla song. Would you like to hear that?
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you. Let me. Okay. It's called Oje Banena Mana. Okay.
My favorite.
Oje Banena Mana. Oje Banena Mana. Akhi phiraile bole na na na. Oje Banena Mana. যত বলে নাই রাতে মলিন হয়েছে বাতি মুখ পানে চেয়ে বলে না 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 ও যে মানে না মানা বিরহ বিকল হয়ে পবনে ভাঙন করেছে হাওয়া ফুলের বনে আমি যত বলি তবে এবার যে যেতে হবে আমি যত বলি তবে এবার যে যেতে হবে দুয়ারে দাঁড়ায়ে বলে না না মুঝে মানে না মানা মুঝে মানে না মানা আঁখি ফিরাইলে বলে না 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 মুঝে মানে না মানা
Beautiful. I don't really have any words.
How lucky
It
are
was
we?
really amazing. Well, how lucky are you, Remy? Like, how much lucky do you feel by listening to our song in our language in Bangla? How is it?
I love it. It's so good. You're so talented.
Well, you should try some more. Maybe find a playlist on Spotify and listen to some more.
Share it with me, bestie.
Okay, so I guess we're gonna end here. Even though I've let the curtain down before this singing, but I was kidding, JK. We're gonna end now. And thank you so much to everyone for watching in this night. Like it's past midnight, but still there are people watching. I'm very thankful to them for being with us. And thank you so much. Wear your mask, use sanitizer, stay away from Corona. Like Corona, get out. Okay, thank you so much. I'm gonna pull the curtain down here. Love yourself, love myself. Peace. Thank you.
Bye.